Hi everybody, welcome to this edition of our Hive 5 interviews. Today we've got Sonia and Michelle from 32Co. Hi guys.
Hi Dan.
Hey.
Thank you for coming. I'll give a very brief introduction to 32Co. So I first heard about them through Michelle, who I've worked with before, and some of you might have seen some of the other videos we've done, the treatment coordinator course, and the video on the Essex Smile Centre. So she was going for a new opportunity to work with 32Co. But then a number of my clients also started raising in board meetings that they'd seen a new aligner system and service that sounded very exciting. So because I know absolutely nothing about clinical dentistry, I thought I'd get them on to explain it for themselves and give it to our wider network. So what I might ask you guys to do first is introduce yourself. So Sonia, do you want to give a bit about your story?
Hi Dan, yes, thanks for the introduction and nice to see you again. So I am the founder of 32Co. I am a clinician by background. I'm a doctor. I actually grew up in the Netherlands. I came to the UK, to Oxford, to read medicine a long time ago now, and practiced in the NHS for a couple of years, mostly in ophthalmology and in trauma and A&E, before going into management consultancy at the Boston Consulting Group in healthcare and in other areas as well. And then after that into health tech. I was building at the time what is now the world's largest app for haemophilia patients to help them track their treatment, and then into 32Co. And I know we're going to talk a bit about what we do, but really the premise for us is around supporting clinicians in providing better outcomes for their patients in areas of specialized care. So with a clinical background, but also with a background in tech, I think this is why, 32Co is what it is now, which is clinically focused, but using the latest kind of technology to do that.
Awesome, thank you. Michelle, do you want to give us the story?
Very well. My story, very briefly, as you know, I've known you quite a long time, Dan. I have got a background in practice development and worked for one of the biggest practices in the UK, built them for growth, turned them from a dental practice into a sales and marketing machine, doubled the turnover for sale against all odds and lots of difficulties. And then I worked for you, Dan, doing some consultancy for some of your practices, looking at operations of some of your bigger clients, which was really interesting. And then I met Sonia because Sonia actually got in contact with me through COVID, through the work that I did for my other practice, and I'm really interested in seeing some great space out there in the market for dentists that I was working with. Got involved with Sonia, and what do they say? I love the product so much I bought the company. Well, I love the product so much I went to work for them. So what is that product anyway? I can't remember. Do you remember the American guy? Oh, it's the shaver or something. It was the brand. So yeah, I always say to people, I love the product so much I went to work for the company. So put my money where my mouth is, let's say.
Brilliant. Well, that's great, guys. Thank you very much. So first question, what's changed in the clear aligner market over the past 5 years?
Yeah, I'll probably start with this because there's been a lot, and it's those changes that are driving what we're seeing in the market at the moment, which is dentists not necessarily offering clear aligners when they could, and dentists who are offering clear aligners not being as confident as they could and should be about the outcomes that they're getting. So just going way back, because I think it's always interesting to think of the origin story of the clear aligner as a device. It was invented in the 90s by Invisalign, Zia Chisti, who I actually had the chance to speak to a couple of weeks ago about how Invisalign was born, and it was a fascinating story. But essentially a Stanford student in a lab looking at a computer screen and saying, couldn't you move teeth with these pieces of plastic as opposed to wires and brackets? And there was precedent for it, and essentially, long story short, he built it into a company which 25 years on is a publicly listed company that have obviously done some great things. But in the meantime, the patents have expired. They expired in 2017, or certainly the key ones, and that has meant that the market has opened up completely. So anyone can now use and improve on that technology, the materials, the 3D printing techniques, And that's meant an explosion in new brands and labs. And there won't be anyone listening, I think, who won't have seen that and noticed that. And normally when you see a market where a patent expires, you get increased competition, because essentially what you're now talking about is a commoditized device. I mean, it's not hard to print an aligner yourself, Dan. You could probably buy a 3D printer tomorrow and print one. So when you commoditize something like that, what should happen is that the prices should come down, because you create increased competition, and that's better for the customer, in this case, the dentist. But for various reasons, that hasn't actually happened for the dentists. So the market's opened up, but actually they've seen prices stay the same or increase. And that's strange, and something that we think quite hard about. Why is that the case? The other thing that has changed is that people have started to come into this market because of the amount of money that's available. So it's not just dentists and orthodontists participating here. There are corporates looking at this space. There are direct consumer companies looking at this space, all wanting a piece of that pie. And it's our experience and our opinion that they are taking too much of the pie when it's compared to dentists and clinicians. So, on the one hand, you've got direct consumer aligner brands who have come in and said to patients, look, don't worry about having a dentist in the middle. Don't think too hard about this. Just get, your impressions done in the post, or go to a sort of a drive-through impression shop. Never meet a clinician, and we'll just send some aligners in the post, and it will probably be fine. I think we can all agree that that's just a terrible way to do things. And the numbers suggest the same thing, which is that patients just don't get the outcomes. There are a huge number of complaints, and patients end up losing faith really in the clear aligner as a device, which is not good for anybody. So you've got this looming threat of a DIY kind of revolution that's trying to take over the market and effectively take these patients away from dentists. And on the other hand, you've got big corporates coming in and trying and getting closer and closer to the patient on, at the expense often of the dentist. So you've got big companies like Straumann, who are now saying, actually, we want to get closer to the consumer. That's something that their CEO said recently. And what that means is that they have started to acquire direct consumer brands, and brands that essentially interface directly with the patient. So they have high street shops that are now competing directly with dentists. A good example of this is Byte, BYTE, which is a direct consumer brand in the US, which was bought by Dentsply, and huge backlash, understandably, from dentists who felt like Dentsply, who was supposed to be a clinician-facing brand, is now actually kind of going behind their back and trying to disintermediate them and get to the patients directly, obviously to take a bigger piece of that pie, as I mentioned. So these are the sorts of things that are happening, and we just want to make dentists really aware of this and say to them, look, there is a lot of opportunity out there with clear aligners, both to learn a new skill, to offer patients the treatments that they want, to make some money, because that's obviously really important to people. But to some extent, dentists are asleep at the wheel and not, grasping this opportunity with both hands. And there are other people coming in and benefiting from that new demand. So that's just a really quick overview of what's happening in the market and the things that we think that dentists and practice owners should be aware of.
Mm-hmm. It's very, very helpful to understand the macro picture of it as well. We kind of see it from a different level, I suppose, because we're almost on the front line with our client base. And there's definitely an element of switching costs from some of the more established brands seem particularly high. Just because they've got high levels of customer service as well, so they kind of know how it works, and if you're doing a big enough volume, the commercial returns there as well. But definitely the direct consumer markets, and while you were speaking, I was trying to think what the numbers were, but for Smile Direct Club, basically that whole turnover is marketing, and it's like, yeah. I get that, but it's clearly not it's not trying to create the best outcomes with that, because you're not investing in the best outcomes. You're investing in a patient acquisition, essentially. So yeah, who are the key players who've been capitalizing, if you're comfortable to say,
Yes, I mean, Smile Direct Club is a perfect example. I mean, they effectively spearheaded the direct consumer model. And, you know, a little known fact, I think, is that Invisalign actually backed them and owned 19% of that company and made all their aligners for a long time. So they had a strategic alliance. So, you know, those are the players that patients will come into dental practice and say, well, I've seen this thing on the telly, this aligner thing, or I've been through the treatment myself, and either, you know, can you sort of do a checkup so that I can go somewhere else to get the treatment done, which is obviously never nice to hear. Or they're saying, look, I've been through the treatment, it's not worked, I can't get hold of anyone, you know, my bite has changed, my teeth didn't do what they were supposed to do, can you now help me? I'm feeling a bit stuck here. So, you know, they are encroaching on you know, the dentist's day-to-day work, you know, whether you like it or not. And then, yeah, that there's the big kind of dentist facing brands. Obviously Invisalign have been the monopoly player for a long time, and had, you know, and still have the biggest market share. Other brands that are coming along that people will be familiar with are like Stramon brands, like ClearCorrect. Henry Schein obviously owns the brand Reveal. So everyone's having a go at producing it's effectively a copycat of Invisalign, to be honest. I mean, they're not pretending to do anything particularly different. There's lots of talk of, well, look, you know, we use a different plastic, and, you know, our materials are clearer, and our printers print with more resolution. But when you actually get down to it, you realize, and you do your digging, which we have done, that almost all of these are made in the same factories in Pakistan, in Costa Rica, and the materials, although they're licensed under different names, are all the same materials. So, you know, while it might look like, look, there's loads of other names out there, there's loads of interesting labs, you know, everyone's telling me that they've got something special. Fundamentally, we're talking about a 3D printed model with plastic vacuum formed over the top. And what we're saying as a company is, look, make sure that you get a good manufacturer, definitely, but focus on the thing that's actually important, which is the treatment plan. You know, designing the tooth movement, understanding the orthodontic fundamentals, and how to get clinically the best outcomes for your patient. And then, sure, you can pick whatever material you want, you're going to get a good result, but don't focus on that second bit, focus on the first bit.
It's very, very interesting. How have the changes affected UK dentists so far, would you say?
Shall I answer that one? I suppose somebody who goes in and works with practices, and as somebody who was looking, well, obviously looking at anything that's going to uplift my clients' or dentists' income, the changes are really impactful. I suppose from a real granular level, if you're on a high street and you've got a big cosmetic practice up the road, which is great, and you're a diamond provider and you get all these wonderful discounts, you're going to naturally sort of, the patients that gravitate towards you because you can offer these discounts, and so you are going to get more patients, which keeps you ingrained with this big brand, because to come out of it is going to cost you money. But if you're the practice that's just down the road from that, it's got really great dentists and patients could come to you, you can't offer the discounts, the prices are never going to be the same, you can't compete. And what I'm loving about the product on the market now is now there's a real dentist choice, which means if there's dentist choice, we're giving patient choice. And as you know, Dan, a lot of my work is about the patient journey, getting dentists to see how important this patient journey is for them to sell their products and to market their products, and for the patient to choose them. I mean, a lot of the time the patient won't choose over, like, you know, 100, 150 pounds. They're going to choose you over who you are and your practice. But the choice is now out there for dentists, and I'm now, you know, getting these dental practices, rather than having to wait for these courses, which, you know, with the big brand could be a 6-month wait and then thousands of pounds to undertake a course, and then be tied into them and not get big discounts. We're getting our GDPs providing clear aligners by tying them up with these orthodontists, so that getting better treatment planning, and saving these dentists money, but getting if you're a practice owner, to get their dentists given this treatment straight away, in a safe environment, is helping other dental practice compete with these cosmetic dental practices up the road. And not everybody wants to go into a great big cosmetic dental practice, they would like their own dentist. They trust their dentist and they want their dentist to provide this treatment for them. So what the trouble is, if you're not a practice that's providing clear aligners, you're actually essentially sending your patient up the road. Your patient could go up the road, have this clear aligner treatment, and then you're never going to see that patient again. This way we're keeping patients in with their dentist and keeping that income in with their dentist, which is obviously a win-win for the dental practice owner and the dentist working in that environment. And dental practices now have got to, I mean, you know what the market's like for associates. It's so hard to get good associates. You've got to be able to show them that you can provide them with good income, because why is an associate going to work with you? You know, the practices that you and I have worked with, they're providing good income for those dentists, so they attract good dentists. So to attract a good dentist, you've got to be able to say, look, we can give you this, or we can train you up in this system, or if you bring your system here, we're going to allow you to use it because we're not entrenched with the big brands. We're giving you clinical freedom to do what you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely the case historically for us, that we felt you needed to at least have Invisalign on your roster, so people may come in through that channel.
Yeah.
But if you prefer a different system, or you're maybe more confident and don't require the support, or whatever it might be, but you kind of needed it there historically. But it wasn't, yeah, I don't know, there was definitely, there's a lot of brand loyalty to it as well. So even if you can find a significantly more cost-effective solution, people struggle to switch, which is quite nice, that rather than go for very small marginal gains of switching between essentially the same product and service, you guys have zagged and created a whole new offer. Could you tell me about how the offer kind of specifically is going to help dentists get through a bit of uncertain times ahead, how it's going to benefit them and actually allow them to thrive with everything that's on the horizon?
I suppose there's two sides to that, really, and Sonia probably answer more of the clinical side of that. I can answer more of the business growth side of that, and definitely dentists that I'm talking to, and I'm talking to a lot of dentists that you've historically had really busy diaries, and now saying to me, there's gaps in my diary for the first time ever, and these are big cosmetic practices. And I think patients are looking for choice. They're looking for cost-effective choice now. It's a bit more price-driven than it's been. I don't know if your dentist is saying that to you, Dan. I know that's what's being said to me. And so they need to be able to offer a choice. But it isn't just about cost for the consumer. It's about being able to say to the consumer, yes, we're giving you a cost-effective solution, but the solution is really good and you're going to get a better outcome from it in a short amount of time because of how it's planned. And actually, the patient trusts the dentist, but imagine saying to the patient, not only do you trust me, but there's somebody else who's working with me to make sure we get the best outcome in the shortest amount of time. Nobody wants to walk around with clear aligners in their mouth for any longer than they're going to have to. And the dentist doesn't want to have that patient in their chair costing them money for any more than they have to. So I think there's these changes in the market and the headwinds that are coming. We, as dentists, have got to embrace this head on and look for better solutions for patients, more cost-effective solutions, how they are going to save money because they're going to be making less money in other areas. But one of my practices, we came out of our NHS contract and I was actually looking at ways I could uplift their income. And that's how I kind of got involved with 32Co, because they were not Invisalign providers. But I wanted to give them another choice to uplift their own income. And they've now started providing 32Co, and we're seeing the cases come through, and they're really happy. And they've also learned another skill really well. They're doing it really well, and their incomes remain the same, even though we've taken the NHS unit income away from them every month. So that was just one way that I used it in one practice. So there's lots of reasons why with these headwinds we need to be embracing new products and services. From a clinical point of view, Sonia, they're probably better than that than me.
Yeah, when it comes to the clinical side of this, I think I mentioned before, it's nice to be able to provide a new high value treatment to patients when there is demand. We know that there is so much demand in the market from patients who want their teeth aligned, and that's for functional reasons as well as for cosmetic reasons. So it's a real shame if you are one of the dentists who says, actually, I don't offer that treatment. And it's very understandable. A lot of dentists tell us, well, look, the reason I don't offer it is because I consider orthodontics to be a specialty, which it is, and I just don't feel confident doing it. I've not learned it. It's been ages since I went to dental school. And, for me to go and seek out extra training is going to cost me time and money that I don't have. So I'm just going to carry on as I am. And I think what we're saying is like, look, it's becoming less of a choice, really. If you want to survive in a new environment where there's lots of, there's a recession potentially coming and things becoming more challenging on the NHS side, having a high value treatment in your back pocket that you can offer to your patients, a couple of £1,000 is a lot of money, then you should do that. And what we want to do is to say, you should be able to do that safely and confidently and know that your outcomes are going to be good, because there's no point in us saying to people, well, we'll offer you a free case. And so I don't care about the free case. I want the good results. Can you guarantee me that my results are going to be good? In which case we can talk. So again, coming back to that original point. So we haven't really explained, what 32Co does, but essentially the pillars are sort of three things. Number one, having personalized training that's delivered to you for free. So our clear aligner orthodontic training is delivered for free because we want to help dentists build their confidence. And we know that there is a barrier to accessing that education. The second thing is always having access to a one-to-one specialist orthodontist during the case planning process. So you're going to have a UK-based specialist orthodontist working with you on your case and helping you understand the tooth movements, understanding the compromises, consenting your patients appropriately, actually getting the design that's going to work. And then finally, that choice that Michelle was talking about, which is having access to effectively a marketplace of all the top clear aligner manufacturers, so that you can actually make sure you never overpay for your aligners. So those are the three things that we do. And the reason for doing that is because we are clinically led. For us, clinical rigor is the most important thing, and that means that you need to be trained and you need to be supported clinically and getting the right results. So to Michelle's point about things like refinements, one of the big things that dentists complain to us about is the unlimited, unexpected refinements that I get cost me time and they cost me money. So I think that I've got my patient in the chair and I'm going to put them through a 14-stage plan. Great. Do some whitening, do some bonding, take my £4,000 and I'm happy. But actually what happens is, and there's data that's just come out on this, is that the average case at the moment takes more than twice the number of aligners that you originally thought. So more than twice the time. So what does that mean for the patient? So let's say you come in January and you say, well, you'll be done by June. Actually, we're talking more like January. And that's really annoying for the patient. It's really time consuming and costly for the dentist. So, these are the pain points that that we can help try and solve, because when we do cases, when you have an orthodontist helping you plan, obviously the plan is going to be based on their many, many years of experience, thousands of cases, and they're going to get the treatment plan right. So our refinement rates, we have some of our top providers for who only sort of 30% of their cases even need a refinement, because the plan's just better. It's kind of as simple as that, because obviously orthodontists, that's all they do all day, every day. Now, there's lots that orthodontists don't know how to do, which dentists are very good at, which is, the stabilization of patients and doing the cosmetic work afterwards, which is why having that team approach is so nice for patients, kind of get the best of both worlds. But from a cost perspective, obviously the chair time saved from unwanted refinements and sort of unpredictable refinements, and the extra lab bills that come with that's where dentists can really benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that all makes sense. So there's kind of a double bite of the cherry in savings terms, so it's significantly more cost effective as well. You're absolutely right in what you're saying, that actually you probably can't just be doing routine dentistry into what we're going to, it's something we've been saying for years, but if someone's just doing checkups all day, there's probably not any profit coming from that room. And frankly, people didn't really used to care about being profitable, because it was better economic times. They probably had less debt on their business. They'd start getting interested about profit when they were selling, because there was an EBITDA multiple they were looking for, and then they'd start kind of going, oh, Dan, Ross, what was that stuff you were talking about? But up until really lockdowns, it wasn't a normal thing to be we'd try and speak about it, but no one would engage in it. But now people are we call it the average daily yield, so how much a clinician produces in that room per day. It has to go up, basically, because it's not just going to be break even, it's going to be significantly loss making going forward. And one thing that when Michelle was telling me about kind of the philosophy and approach, I thought it's quite nice, because I get the luxury of not being deeply involved with the businesses that I work with. So when I'm looking at an associate's ADYs, I'll kind of say, this guy's needs to gross more, basically. And that's the limit of my advice. I might say do some sales training, speak to the TCO, and what type of high value treatments do they like to deliver. And I'll say, they were talking about maybe going on the Invisalign course. And really all I had up my sleeve was go on an Invisalign course or some other orthodontic course, or look at composite bonding. But that was the limit of it. So there was a portion of associates who would never do anything and kind of stay in this zone of not expanding their knowledge base and skill set. So I feel like you're not just supporting the kind of market that's already supported with a better offering, but you're opening up into a new market as well, where anyone can actually go and get a whole load of training. What was the key insight around giving the training for free and putting so much of an emphasis on that, when you could kind of say there's a market norm that dentists pay huge amounts for training? So it's a bit of a different thing to do.
Yeah, it's actually for us a really easy decision to make. I mean, most of the team have a clinical background to some degree, whether it's they've worked in health tech before or are clinicians themselves, or like Michelle, very closely related. And I think when you've been through your own journey of learning healthcare, you just realize the value of just someone taking the time to actually explain things to you, and not feeling like there's a commercial transaction in that. You just want somebody to explain how this all works, and you will feel confident and you will get going. So it's this sort of what's in it for you guys is a question that we often get. Why would you offer something that's worth thousands for free? It's because for us, if you're trained and you're confident in providing clear aligners, we will benefit in the long run, obviously, because you will start doing more cases, you will start increasing your income. And just to be totally transparent about how our business model works, you get the training for free from us, and it's continuous training as well. You work one-to-one with that specialist orthodontist. And then because of the dynamics that I described in terms of the buying of the aligners and the manufacturers, again, Dan, I'm sure you've looked into this, but the profit margins that are made by these big manufacturers at the moment is still 80%, and it has been for a long time. You can look at their kind of investor reports and you can see just how profitable the device itself is. Mm-hmm. And so what we're saying is we can take a cut of that as a company, still offer the same or better prices with all of these extras included, and ultimately the person that wins is the dentist. We are a very dentist and orthodontist facing brand in some ways. Like the clinician, the patient is it's great that they're a beneficiary, and as Michelle said, like patients having choice is really important. Mm-hmm. But the course being free actually empowers our customers, and like you say, grows the market.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great stuff, guys. Well, I think we've covered off quite a lot there. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Do you get dentists asked to talk to you about refinement rates, Dan? Is this something that when you're working with clients?
Talk about it. So it will generally be something that's raised to us by a pretty savvy client when they're actually working out their margins on stuff. Yeah. They'll say, oh, we don't actually make that much money there. And they'll be probably doing a volume as well, so they'll be pretty switched on. I found out the other day that 6 month smiles actually is less profitable than Invisalign, which surprised me. I for some reason I'd assumed it would be cheaper. So they do think about it. Again, if someone says we don't think we're making any money, we'll kind of say what we see the best industry practices, but the difference you've got there is probably the clinician delivering that may not be an orthodontist, but they will have done a load of cases, so they know exactly how to do it, and kind of know how to, I don't know, just do it efficiently, essentially. whereas someone starting up, you're kind of relying on the principal, I guess. So if the principal's done a lot ortho and aligner stuff, if they're really good at teaching, then maybe you get it there. But it is there's more and more awareness of it. So what's happened when everything opened back up again, there was huge demand for teeth, everything cosmetic, frankly. So you know, the practices that were already doing it sucked up a load of market share. It was great. And then kind of the wider dental market were like, oh, maybe we should invest in pay-per-click advertising or Facebook or Instagram and try and get people in. And it worked because the demand was so high. Now that demand's shrinking to some degree. I wonder if the smaller practices that hadn't done as much before will be a bit more nervous about their level of investment and the costs associated with delivering it. So it's the kind of bigger practices were kind of aware of their cost base. They're kind of aware of what they can get, and if it costs £50 to get an ortho lead, that's a good investment. But most practices didn't think in those terms. But now you're looking at, oh, wait a sec, our wages have gone from 18% to 25% of turnover, and we've still got the same resource. It's just what's happening. Oh, where are we spending money? And you know, so there's all these different things. So the interest in the business model of dentistry and what actually makes money is much higher than ever, which is, you know, it's good for us because people want to know how we can help them, but it's certainly, that's why we like speaking to people that can save people money and improve what they do. So yeah.
And for us, it's, you know, from the clinical side, as Sonia's talked about, but we, you know, you want to support dentists to grow their business and grow their income, and we want to work with practice owners to grow their practices as well. So, you know, we can support in all of that with marketing, some time with me if that's what's needed, the time with our orthos if our new dentists want that time. It's all available, and I think that's what makes us, you know, if anyone's got a USP, we're a unique, customer facing, friendly company, and I think that's going to stand out and make a difference to people out there, really. It's I've worked in dentistry, I've been at both sides now, and you know, you just don't have time to see sales reps turning up and chatting to you. You want to see that the product works. You want to be able to get in and use the product and get down to it and receive good advice, and I think that's what we're doing. Changing the status quo, we like to say, Sonia, don't we? I think that's one of our terms, really.
Yeah, kind of philosophically aligned with us in that degree, that we're definitely not the biggest organisation out there, but we're trying to be one of the best. So that's definitely deeply ingrained in us. So how do people contact you? If we we'll try and put some contact details on screen, and when we send it out, we'll have it below. But if you want to give a rundown of the best ways to get in contact, that'd be good.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is just to go to the website www.32co.com, and you'll find the contact details there. They can also pre-register for any of the courses there. There is a bit of a wait list, but we're trying to get through them for the starter course, which is for complete beginners, and then the stretch courses, which is for people who've already done some clear aligner work and just want to get better, take it to the next level. And I think we'll also share some contact details through your website, Dan, so that they can get in touch with us there. But yeah, I think for us, it's a case of when we talk to practice managers and practice owners, we say, look, why is everybody not doing clear aligners in your practice? And they say, well, you know, dentists are they're sort of doing their own thing. Some of them are maybe Invisalign trained, but maybe not. And we're saying to dentists, like, what if you could just get all your training for free, and then have a specialist orthodontist helping you with every case, making sure that you get the best outcomes every time, and also getting a chance to choose, you know, your lab bills basically and your manufacturer. Would you do clear aligners then? And then you have dentists saying, and practice and say, okay, well, if that was the case, then obviously we would be flying and we would all do clear aligners. So we say, well, we're trying to make that possible, because at the end of the day, patients and clinicians and practice owners will benefit.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much for that, guys. Really useful for me to learn more as well. There's a lot in there, and yeah, anyone that gets in contact, you know, it'd be good to hear from you as well, because I like to know more about things. But yeah, thanks very much. Good seeing you guys. See you.
See you.
Thanks, Dan.